Welcome to the Scandinavian Mind podcast, our weekly show about how technology is changing the creative industries. Today on the program, can fashion scale upcycling? We will share insights from our latest interview series on the topic of upcycling in the fashion industry. We will hear about lessons learned from brands like ILAG, Deadwood and ARVThe, and also later in the program hear from our special guest Lovisa Nolander, product manager at XV Production, a facility on the west coast of Sweden specialized in the production of upcycled clothing. My name is Konrad Olsson, editor-in-chief and founder of Scandinavian MIND, and I'm here with my dear colleagues Johan Magnusson and Aylin Franzon. How are you guys?
Very good. How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
Aylin, great to have you back on the podcast once more. Now we're going to dive into an interview series that you have produced on the topic of upcycling. We'll get back to that in just a moment, but before we do, just want to mention we have the last event of the year. It's been quite the event-heavy season here at Scandinavian Mind. We're doing our second virtual Creatives Live session at the Link & Co showroom happening next week on December 6th, where I will interview Swedish designer Gustav Winst, a very innovative designer working at the intersection of physical furniture using VR and 3D tools. Very exciting. Johan, you've met and interviewed Gustav before. Why is he so interesting, do you think?
He's quite a pioneer when it comes to the use of new technologies in an otherwise not so innovative industry, which is design. He foresees that these new technologies, they are already changing the daily operations as executives know it, and will have a huge impact moving on in the next few years.
Sign up to our newsletter. Visit scandinavianmind.com/newsletter to grab the last reminder invite, or just go to our website. You'll find the appropriate link on our news feed. All right, now it's time for the topic of the day, which is upcycling in the fashion industry. This is an interview series we've been researching throughout this fall. Very interesting. I've been wanting to do this for a long time. I don't think you can mention any new interesting fashion brand coming out of the Nordics that doesn't use the upcycling, dead stock materials, all the likes. Johan, why do you think this is such an important topic in the fashion industry right now?
The Nordic fashion brands, many of them are quite new, so they're founded by quite recently graduated fashion students. And those creatives have been heavily influenced, of course, by their friends or their daily lives. So, for instance, Division in Denmark or Rave Review in Sweden, the founders are all quite young, and it's a sign of the times that this do-it-yourself movement and to turn waste, to look at waste as a resource, and also, of course, financially, when you start a brand, it's not like you have $1 million on the bank to spend on fabrics. So then you can go to more established brands to look at their surplus fabrics in order to make new fabrics out of it, or new pieces.
Right. Aylin, I'm going to turn to you. You have been doing the heavy lifting on this interview series throughout this fall. We have now, last week we published the first in a series of 2 articles interviewing brands ILAG, Deadwood and ARVThe, and this week we published our second interview where we went to the manufacturers. We'll hear more from the manufacturers, of course, since we are we're having Lovisa on the show in just a few minutes. But talk about going into this research project. What were some of the questions you wanted to ask these brands?
I guess what I wanted to know was, what are some of the most apparent challenges when taking on upcycling, and what are like the potential is essentially.
Right. I mean, you start the article. Obviously, we've been on the topic of overproduction many times in the feeds of Scandinavian Mind. You mentioned, there's an estimated of 30% of all produced fabric that doesn't make it to the point of sales. Some 92 million tons of textiles being discarded on an annual basis. I mean, that's just staggering. So it really underscores the need for this. You went into talking to some of these brands who has really made it part of their brand, part of their operation, to use upcycled or otherwise discarded fabrics. What were some of the challenges with working? Give us some examples.
Well, one very clear and one very, very echoing challenge amongst all of the endeavors or ventures that I asked was the matter of time and the amount of time that it takes to work with upcycling. Just because, sourcing materials, there aren't any really real systems where you can source materials for upcycling on a large scale, which poses a problem if you want to scale up your upcycling production, and because of this, what follows is it are increased costs behind such production as well. So they kind of follow each other and go hand in hand.
Were they generally? I mean, Deadwood has been around for a while. It's part of their DNA to kind of produce with dead stock leather and so forth. Were they generally hopeful that they will kind of crack the code, or that the industry is going to solve this?
I mean, I would say that, like, overall, they all were hopeful because they see change on the horizon, so to speak. Because we have with Gen Z and like consumers are getting so much more conscious and aware regarding their choices.
So the demand is increasing among new generations. That's super interesting. So obviously, two interesting articles up now on ScandinavianMind.com. Is there anything else, another key takeaway that you want to mention from these articles or doing this research?
I would say that, like, a takeaway that I got was the need for reevaluation, both for companies and the industry, as well as the consumer, that we just don't need that much stuff. We just don't need that many clothes, because that would just egg on production even further. So we just need to reevaluate our relationship to materials and goods.
Well, that goes to the heart of the problem, doesn't it? Well, Aylin Franzon, thank you so much for doing this work. Again, you can read this article series, the couple of articles. It's now up on ScandinavianMind.com. We're now going to introduce the special guest of this session. We're going to go over to hear from the manufacturer side and listen to and invite Lovisa Nolander, product manager at ARVThe Production, on the show. All right, we are now here with our special guest Lovisa Nolander, product manager and co-founder of ARVThe Production. Welcome, Lovisa.
Hello, I'm very excited to speak with you.
Very good to have you, and we had your colleague was part of our interview series, and super happy to have you on the show talking about the concept of upcycling in the fashion industry. So just for anyone who doesn't, who aren't aware of what you guys are doing, just give an intro to XV Production and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. We are textile or fashion manufacturers in Borås, Sweden. So we are helping like fashion and interior companies to produce garments or home textile for them. So and our niche is that we are helping them with remake production. So we're not only doing like production out of a roll of fabrics, we can also make production out of old garments and making them into new garments. So we're having a lot of sewing machines and cutting tables here in our studio.
Obviously working from the heart of the textile industry in Sweden. Can you just quickly mention some of the brands that you are working with and what type of projects you are taking on?
Yeah, we are, for example, working with Jerf Avenue, Totem, Nudie Jeans, Rave Review. Yeah, it's a lot of different companies. We have worked with, I think, 100 of them in the fashion and interior industry.
Many of these, I mean, obviously Rave Review is highly regarded, one of the up and coming fashion brands in Sweden. How remind us again how long you've been around and how have you seen kind of the requests and the demand for upcycling production in the past few years?
We were in the school of textiles like back in the 2015. So we graduated from secondary school actually from the textile and design. When Textile Fashion Center were like growing, we were part of it, and we really were like in this house with all of these companies and brands and the school. And so already 2015 we started our own company. So we were very young, and but then we were working like with our own brand. But then we got our studio and our sewing machines, and then we thought like, why does not any company produce in Sweden? And at the same time, a lot of companies is talking about like sustainability and how we can make that happen more seriously. So back in school, we actually like mingled with the people who were talking about this question, and from there we like started our company, thinking that we could actually be a helping hand and making because we are really like interested of producing products, and we are really interested about that process. So from like 2015 and forward, we have really seen the like new brands like Rave Review, Hodakova, and Jade Cropper, Deadwood. Like everyone is like talking more about this remake process, and we have like been a part of it, I think, from a producing side of it. So we have like grown with the young fashion brands and also hear what the bigger brands also need. So it's out from that we have become what we are today.
Well, I think you just mentioned the whole slate of up and coming brands coming out of Sweden the past few years. Talk about how does this affect the design process? Because I would imagine using existing fabrics is also influencing how they create the actual designs of their garments, of their products. How engaged are you in that, or is it more like trying to figure out a way to realize their visions?
I think we are like in both sides of it, because we are a producer, but we are talking a lot with designers, and so we In most cases, we get samples or a tech pack that we are going to look that we are taking a look on and seeing if that is something that we can produce, and we are also giving a price on it. So I guess that's a very big important step to go from design, and in that process we need to know about the material, of course, and if it's when we are doing a remake, we have to know if it's post-consumer, does it have stains or holes in it, or is it a lot of different measurements that we need to have in our mind to, when we are done with the production, the garments have to follow a measurement list and have to be what the designer want us to make it. So in that state we have to then we talk a lot with the designer, and if we need to compromise on certain elements of the design to match their price and to the time that it could take to remake a garment.
So what we've been diving into is the question of, is upcycling actually a business model that can be scaled? And what are the challenges and or perhaps even opportunities when going into a business model like that? And it's something that I've also been very curious about, because of course there's, design-wise and brand-wise, there are all these kind of upsides, sustainability-wise, you're kind of tackling that. But from a production point of view, it has to pose a lot of, challenges in terms of, are you pushing out the same type of garments, or is every garment, different? How do you see this? And as a production partner, how do you, what kind of, volumes are you able to deliver, and how do you work with that?
It really depends on the operation in the garment. How difficult is it to remake the garment, take it from an old garment to make it into a new? How many steps does it take to make it happen? Because that is about the time it takes. So we are making, in our production, we are doing we can do 10 pieces and we can do 1,000 pieces, but it really depends on how complicated a product is. And I think the benefits in remaking garments is that you can change a garment with simple steps, because a garment has already sewn details that it is finished. So you maybe does not have to sew every detail of the garment. So you can gain time in the production phase if you use it in the right way. But it can also be more complicated to remake a garment, because if it really depends on the variation of the sourced material, and if we have to begin the production with measure every garment to see if we even can use it, or if it stains or holes and so on. So it really depends on both the sourcing, the material that we get here, if it's very different, and it depends on the operation you put in the garment. So that is the key element to make it able to scale it. But I think it's able to, you can make really simple changes to make a completely new impression of the garment. So it's really about thinking in a new way of production.
Yeah, of course, we've discussing it in the previous episodes, the fact or the process of how to take these way of producing from certain capsule collections by the biggest players, like the fast fashion companies, into the new normal. Do you foresee that we will experience such a development in the next few years, that it will become more normalized by both bigger and smaller players to work with upcycling, and not only in certain drops or limited editions or such?
I think we the industry have to see the whole fashion industry in new ways and to find these new business models where remake and upcycling garments or using the material that we already have produced in new products and take them into new products. I really think it has to be the new future because of the climate change, and I think that was really, if we are going to reach the goal within EU, and the material is what takes the most energy out of a garment. So I really think that's a key factor to reach those goals, but we also need to implement it into business models so the economy follows it. So I think it's possible. I know it's a complex system. Sewing a shirt is a complex system. So I think we can invent new complex systems for remaking and upcycling and take that into both fast fashion and smaller brands.
And we also have a huge contradiction, of course, with the new consumer groups growing up now. They're more conscious than ever, but at the same time, they buy both upcycled items or vintage second-hand items. But we also see, of course, the rise of ultra-fast fashion players. We had numbers this week saying that Shein will become bigger in revenue than both H&M and Zara already this year. So it's a huge contradiction, of course. And of course, it's easy for us being quite informed in a welfare society to speak about that this is the future. But we also have huge economies in other parts of the world. And they, of course, also want to consume. And I don't see any other solution than regulations here or legislation.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with you that we have to put an end to stop the fast fashion. We need to regulate it because otherwise the fast fashion producers will continue because virgin material costs like zero to produce. So
I came across a quite interesting quote this week, actually. It's only in the fashion industry that we may allow such consumption in 2023. And let's hope that we're on our way out of it.
Yeah, I think the normal is that fashion brands overproduce 30%. And that's really so much more than any other industry. So we have to regulate it.
Well, obviously, there's so much happening on the EU level when it comes to the regulations. It's something we cover quite extensively in our feeds and our podcasts as well. Lovisa, obviously, you have made a strong bet on, your own production facility. I know you're hiring seamstresses and production folks down on the West Coast there. What is on the horizon for you guys? How do you see your own business developing with regards to this? What are your hopes in the next few years?
Right now we are in making the perfect system to how to go from a design to reach the customer in the most efficient, best way. So we're really putting a lot of time to make the foundation for growth within our companies. So we are really using how can we integrate technical solutions in production in a better way to handle all the data and the customer experience and everything. So we really want to make the best quality and the best experience. And that with that, I think that our company will grow. So we will hire more people, taking more customers, more remaking more, because I think we need to be we want to make a bigger scale production in remake, making like thousands of garments circulating every year. So we want to be a solution and be a part of the industry and help it grow in a circular way. So that's really our goal. We used to say that we don't need to be like the largest company, but we have to be the best company. And we're learning from every production that we are doing, and we want to be like 10 times better every time. So,
well, we are certainly cheering you on. Lovisa Nolander, the product manager and co-founder of ARVThe Production. Thank you so much for sharing your insights today.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You've been listening to the Scandinavian Mind podcast. Don't forget to sign up to our newsletter not to miss out on any upcoming content or events. Visit scandinavianmind.com/newsletter. And of course, if you're in the beauty industry, don't forget to follow our special beauty innovations track. Visit scandinavianmind.com/beauty innovation. Until next week, goodbye.